Alright, let me see. Let's get my notes up here. Hey, what's up? Just sitting down to record my video. Bye. So there's been a lot of buzz around 13 Reasons Why, and I've kind of wanted to stay away from talking about this or even really thinking about this because of the topic and dealing with depression and social media bullying and suicide. So, and I'm not giving spoilers away, you can figure this out within probably the first 10 minutes of the show, but I'll get into that in a little bit. But I was listening to NPR while working today, and they were talking about the effect that this is having not only for students and kids, but also on the structure of the system that kids are in. So the high school system with interacting with adults and parents, but that's probably something we're going to get into later. I have already read the Wikipedia entry for the book, and that goes over the synopsis of the story of everything that happened, so I pretty much know everything that's going to happen, so nothing's going to be too much of a surprise. However, with the buzz that this is generating, like I said, I wanted to sit down and do this, so what I've decided to do is do one episode a day and do a video review through each episode, and I'm taking notes, recording things I think are interesting in either how it's said or what the setup is, what the scenario is. I'm going to try to break it down and give my thoughts on it. This is kind of a personal topic. I went through a lot of depression in high school. I know that a lot of people can sometimes remember me as just kind of being fun and happy and smiling all the time. However, I dealt with a lot of negativity, personal negativity, the way people looked at me and treated me and what they would say and how I would react to that mentally. Suicide hits close to home because of attempts and thoughts about it and planning it and all this other stuff. Praise God, I have made it past that phase in my life. I don't have to deal with that anymore. I still get depressed and I still get down, but it is nowhere near what it used to be. And I remember high school just being kind of a nightmare, but I think a lot of people can kind of resonate with that. But nowadays, it's just so much different with the digital natives now going to high school because technology, social media, sharing things has become normal and oversharing things and then lies. Anyway, let's just get into the show real quick. So the immediate thing is the story follows the character whose name is Clay Jensen. You can tell right away with the establishing shot, and the first thing is that Hanna has killed herself. It opens with a locker with a decoration of cards and flowers and forever, and everybody is just dealing with the shock of it all. This works out very well. It takes place about a week after the event, and it works out in its favor because it goes through that new show haze. And what I'm talking about is when you start a new show, you always have this like, okay, so what's going on? Who is who? What is this character like? What is the personality like? What is the type like? So it fits in very well in line with the idea of kids reacting to a tragic event that has happened at school. So it takes very strong advantage of being a new show and being something completely different than what you're used to seeing as far as like what a younger show or a show aimed kind of at a little bit of a younger audience would be targeting. There are several flashbacks that Clay has initially with just something reminds him. He'll be sitting in class and he looks over where Hannah's chair is and where she was, and he'll kind of see her writing, and the teacher's like, hey, are you there? Are you listening? And they're going through a lot of the motions of what it's like to be caught in a daydream, especially after such a tragic event. So as it starts opening, he comes home and Clay sees a package that is addressed to him, and he opens it up and there's tapes. It's kind of interesting in this day and age thinking about tapes as being a major source of being the main source of media to communicate a message. However, he struggles to find a way to find a tape player or then a Walkman and listen to these tapes, and it's like, well, you know, kind of stupid, but it serves its own purpose in the end. As Hanna says, I'm doing this for a reason. That's why there's no MP3, there's no technology, there's no anything. And how does she say? I gotta look at my notes here real quick. There's no chance for the interwebs to make everything worse like it always does, which is one of your first big clues that something is wrong or something has happened because of the internet. So as he listens to these tapes, she has left him a map and he has to go around to certain spots to give a visual. He doesn't have to, but to get a better visual of what Hanna is talking about on these tapes, he follows this map around town. Hence why it also said there's no app and no internet. So the whole thing starts off with Hanna falling in love with this guy named Justin. He's athletic, he's built, he's in good shape, and they go to have their first date in the park. And they're playing around on a slide, and he goes down the slide first and does a flip, and then he pulls out his camera and turns around and goes to take a picture of Hanna coming down the slide. And she's wearing kind of like a dress, a sundress type thing. It doesn't go all the way down like past her knees, but it's not incredibly like this ultra short mini skirt. And as she's going down, he takes a picture, and it's an upskirt photo because it's a girl going down the slide and whatnot. And she gets down and they have this kiss at the bottom of the slide. And she really liked this kid. And so it's kind of like this weird tender moment. But you know something bad's going to happen, because why else would this be all mentioned on these tapes that he has to listen to? Clay has heard stories about what happened that night. And so he starts seeing what he was told. They start getting really physical, they start getting really intimate, and they start having sex on this slide. However, that completely gets cut because she flat out says nothing happened. It was just a kiss at the bottom of the slide, and that the truth is far less entertaining than anything else you have probably heard. She kept describing her first kiss as something wonderful, because to her, it was just a magical moment with somebody that she really liked. It's that brand new relationship feeling. And she describes her first kiss as being that magical experience of when you first kiss somebody that you really like, and we can all associate with that. And however, what happens then the next day at school completely is where the story just immediately goes for a dark turn of how the truth can be twisted and contorted so quickly. So Justin is going around kind of bragging off to what is going on, and we all kind of know how people exaggerate and hyperbolize stories and situations that have happened. It's how we kind of spice things up. It's how we communicate. It's just very natural to kind of embellish a little bit on the stories. But he's bragging to his friends about his encounter and his romantic happenings with Hanna. And it's like, what base did you get to? First base, second base, third base? And he pulls out his phone and shows the picture. And his friend Ryan grabs it and immediately starts spreading it. And it's from this lie that everybody's view of Hanna has started to change. They're all sitting in class, and slowly each person's phone starts going off until Clay looks at the phone. This is all in flashback. Until Clay looks at the phone and sees it's an upskirt photo of Hanna. So there's an upskirt photo of her going down the slide. There's this rumor that starts to seem to be circulating that they went all the way. So clearly this must be true. So they're sitting down at lunch, Clay and Hanna. They're having small dialogue with each other until he finally snaps at her about it and says sometimes it's better to wait. She knows what he's talking about. He knows what he's talking about. And she replies to him and says, "You've really hurt my feelings." And she gets up and she walks away. So this is the very starting episode of where we see the image of Hanna, of how people are perceiving her start to change from she was just this girl, she was really nice, she wasn't really overly social. She talks about this because there was a party that was going on and her friend left, and she's kind of standoffish. And she talks about how a rumor based on a kiss ruined a memory that she hoped would be special. And in fact, it ruined just about everything, as you'll soon see. This is one of the last lines that you hear. This is all for a really big setup of everything that is about to come in the next 12 episodes, 13 episodes. Next is about how these rumors can get started, and these stories can get blown out of proportion, and it can completely ruin and destroy somebody's lives. Now, we all remember high school. High school was a rough time for a lot of people. It's where you're discovering and finding yourself. And I cannot fathom being a non-digital native, because I grew up and there was not a lot of this stuff. I had a Zanga account and I would share my thoughts, but there was never anything I had to worry about myself getting out there that wasn't necessarily untrue or that could be twisted or lied. But rumors have a way of going around and affecting a person's life. And in this era where you have as loud as a megaphone as you can find to broadcast either a picture, an image, or a story about somebody that doesn't even necessarily have to be true, it can completely shatter somebody as a person, especially when it comes to that age of being younger and engaging in sexual activity and engaging in something that seems to break the norm of who you are. It can have devastating results on somebody. Now, I'm not saying that this is the one scenario. Like I said, I know what happens, but I'm not going to get ahead. But this isn't necessarily the one scenario that just immediately, boom, triggers the suicide reaction. It gets worse from here as the line is set up. In fact, it just about ruined everything else, as you'll soon see, because these rumors have a way of shaping how people see her and then what they expect from her, and just how we have expectations for people. What we hear about them changes the way we perceive them, which is why it's very, very important to be careful what you hear and what you believe and what stories you listen to when it comes to other people, because it can have cascading effects that lead into very, very bad, dangerous things. I know you probably didn't mean to let me down. In fact, most of you listening probably had no idea what you were truly doing, but you'll find out. And it's very important that those words be listened to in the concept of rumors and understanding where the person is coming from who a rumor is about, because it can lead to a whole can of worms that is very bad. I gotta say, the show isn't that bad. It's kind of about what I expected in dealing with the topic. The casting so far seems really good. The characters seem relatively organic to their surrounding, but once again, it's that new show haze, so nothing is really well defined with who is who and what part they have to play and everything. One thing that's a little irritating is the dialogue. I actually made a specific note about this, is the dialogue with each other. I really hate it when younger people are portrayed as sounding more sophisticated and quick-witted than what your average high school person would be. I get that they're telling a story and I get that they're communicating a point, but it's just overly complex dialogue is frustrating when it comes from a younger crowd that's supposed to be in a much younger generation that's just right in your face with how much they talk and try to sound like adults. Most of them are in their 20s anyway, so I guess it fits, but the context of the story, it's just kind of like blah. I'm looking forward to see where this goes. I haven't gotten anything too intense, but this is my episode 1 recap so far. I'll probably get a little bit better at organizing my thoughts and my structure about what I want to say and how I want to say it. Please leave a comment below if you've watched the show, if you have any feedback about what your takeaway is from it, what the show, how the show left an impression on you. Like and subscribe to the channel. You know, hopefully we can get a dialogue going, because the topic that this is talking about is very important. You know, suicide is a very, very scary thing for a family, scary thing for a community, a scary thing for people with friends, and it's important to keep a dialogue open when something affects people. But the main takeaway I have from this is you got to be careful with how you listen when rumors start getting spread about somebody, or when stories start getting spread, because they might not necessarily be true and they have the opportunity to really mess somebody up, as this series is showing. So like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you tomorrow.